All right, my name is Eric Marsh Sr. I'm an executive board member for MBKCares. MBKCares is a wellness organization that focuses on violence reduction and suicide reduction and mental health and wellness. And this week's conversation, we are gathered together for our part 2 of our conversation with dads. Seeing as how this is the month of fatherhood, we are coming up on Father's Day. And we want to get a chance to have a conversation with some of the dads throughout our community and get their sentiments about what it means to be a father, some things about their children, and why they choose to be activists and advocates for fathers across the community. And so right now, I want to introduce my co-host, who I have the honor of bringing on today. I think this may be our first time doing this together, Eric, but Eric Jr. Is going to be co-hosting with us today. Eric, introduce yourself and share any thoughts that you might have.
How y'all doing, everybody? I'm Eric Jr., son of the awesome dad, Eric Sr. Just happy to be here and participate in the conversation that means so much to a lot of people that could actually help a lot of people out. So I'm just happy to be here.
Excellent. I'm happy that you're here too as well. All right, so looking at my screen, I'm going to go from top to bottom. I'm going to start with Brandon Phillips, Trying Together. Brandon, introduce yourself and tell us a little about yourself.
Good evening. My name is Brandon Phillips. I'm thankful to be here with everyone and trust and learn. I'm a father of 3. I have an 11-year-old, a 2-year-old, and an 8-month-old, a 10-year-old. My son will be 11. I'm trying to make him older than he is. I work at Trying Together as a community outreach specialist. I'm also a school counselor with Pittsburgh Public Schools, and choose to be an advocate because I believe if our children can see it, they can be it.
Definitely. Dope. Appreciate that, Brandon. All right, next person on my list is Les Rivera. Les, introduce yourselves and tell us about your role as a father.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Les Rivera. I am a co-founder of the Fathering Circle, and I am also a writer-director who's about to release a series called Papi Ramirez versus Giant Scorpions. And I have a 4-year-old daughter named Mazrick, and she is my world.
Excellent, excellent. Appreciate you, brother. All right, next up is Jeffrey Threet of Fathers in Action. Jeff, introduce yourself. Tell us about you.
Good evening, everybody. Jeffrey Threet from Fathers in Action. I have children on top of children. Okay, I have children from the age of over 40 all the way down to the age of 23, grandkids and all, and I participate in their lives because they need an example, especially nowadays with everything that's going on. Regardless of the pandemic and everything, they need an example of a man in their color, their skin, in their community that's trying to do positive things. My father taught me a lot of things, so I'm just really passing things on like a legacy.
Excellent. Appreciate that. And I haven't never heard the phrase kids on top of kids, but we get it. We get it. Sometimes it feels that way when they're all over. So appreciate that legacy and that wisdom that you bring. All right, next up, Brother Joel Austin from Daddy University.
My name is Joel Austin. I am a co-founder and CEO of Daddy University Incorporated. We are the 17 years. We run the Fathers Club, Daddy Daughters Dance, through the Parent Academy, and we've been educating and on the forefront of fatherhood and advocacy for a good while. I am recently married, so now we are a tribe of 11. I have 4, she has 4. I have 2 mentees that they used to be mentees. They're now sons of mine, and I help raise my godson who his father likes being away. So you got it. It's a village.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna come back to you on your math. If it's a tribe of 4, and there's 11 of y'all, but
4, 2 mentees, and a godson.
Got you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. All right. Last but not least, Brother Reuben Jones of Frontline Dads, Executive Director. Reuben, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and your children.
Yes, I'm the Executive Director of Frontline Dads, Inc. I have 4 biological children and a bonus son through marriage. Like the last, I have a 12-year-old daughter now. So, it's, just watching her grow into the magnificent young lady has been a pride and source of joy for me personally, as well as my son, but it's been a little bit different challenge with her. But with our organization, we advocate for non-custodial fathers. We mentor young people, and we are social justice advocates, where we reach out into the community to address some of those social ills, including violence, mass incarceration, and poverty, among other things. So we've been at it officially since about 2002. Well, unofficially since 2002, and officially as a nonprofit since 2015.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. So let's jump into this conversation. So I know that the most pressing thing is, the world is upside down right now. So as I actually want to get into, how have you personally been dealing with the case of the quarantine piled on top of, or actually became before, but all of this, the issue of the social unrest? How have you and your family been dealing with the quarantine from a mental, emotional standpoint, but then also the physical standpoint of just being in the house together during the times that we before things started opening back up? And I'll start with Reuben because just finished. What's it been like for you during this time of the quarantine leading up to now?
Yes, it's been rough, to be honest with you. So let me layer a couple things. So you have me and my wife home at the same time, working from home. We have a fourth grader at home that we have to, homeschool or at least supervise with the long distance learning. Then we're dealing with a quarantine. And in the middle of all that, this injustice happens and we have this social unrest. So I have to explain to my young people why I'm leaving the house to go out in the middle of a quarantine to throw my fists in the air, and why it's important to them, and why we have to dissect the news and make sense of it, and really had those hard, kind of tough conversations with a 10-year-old who's very inquisitive. So it's been a challenge on a lot of different levels, and I felt depleted and defeated, but mostly depleted a lot of times. Just face those challenges and want to be honest, because we don't want to tell our kids that Santa Claus is real, right? We want to be honest and say racism exists, and some people think less of you simply because of the color of your skin, but they can't reflect all people, and we still have to be humane and civil in all the things that we do, while at the same time you got a right to be outraged and hurt. And so this has been a challenge. So, trying to make sure we maintain good social distance when we leave the house, and then a routine of, not disinfect, but sanitizing, and, our hands and bodies coming back in, and how we maintain responsibility for the things we're responsible for, and everybody's working independently, still trying to keep the house running. So it's been a challenge. It's been a load.
Been a load, been a challenge. I heard you say depleted. Depleted was the word that I heard you say. Joel, how has it been for you? I know you said you recently married. What has it been like in terms of navigating the quarantine, and explaining to your children maybe all the things that's going on and what's happening in the world? How's it been for you mentally and emotionally?
I mean, I have to admit, I realize now that I hate my entire family. They are annoying. They eat entirely too much. And I felt, okay, no, the truth is, it's been absolutely wonderful. I got removed from part of the fatherhood that has to do with just working. I got removed from that fatherhood that had to do with just providing, and I got thrown into the better part of fatherhood, which is the quarantine was the first time that I've actually had dinner with my children almost every single night at the table. Nice. This is the first time I was able to watch an entire movie of Frozen, and if anybody wants to come watch Frozen with me, please let me know. I was able to watch a movie like Just Cause, or I was watching a movie with my teens and then talk about it afterwards. I was able to let them understand why these chores are important. I was able to play basketball. I have a little court outside and have fun with them instead of being in charge of them. We got the chance to understand that the things about them that I love is that they're just like me. And the things I don't like about my children is that they're just like me. And how do you deal with someone who has the same irking mentality as you?
Yeah.
I feel for your kids because I know your personality, so I don't know how they do it, bro. But thank you.
We've been having fun with it. So we have, out of the 11, we have 2 girls and 9 boys. My boys are in between the ages of 26 and 16. So the conversations around what has been happening have been interesting, but I was able to have full-length conversations instead of texting or on the phone and so forth. That's what it provided me. We also was able to have conversations around forgiveness, and my main focus was to make sure that my young Black boys did not grow up angry and that they did not grow up resentful. And we had conversations around love, and we had conversations around hope.
So let me ask you this, because I don't want to get too far ahead. But in terms of like summing up for you emotionally, what has it been like? In 3 words, what has it been like?
As a father, it's been emotionally reviving, emotionally draining, and emotionally encompassing. Then the negative and the positive turned it out to be good. It's been emotionally good. Because they were here, I'm able to let things out, and we're able to have a long-lived conversation. It's been necessary.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Les, I know we were talking the other day, and you were saying that you were actually home alone for a little bit recently. But what has it been like for you to go through this process with your wife and your baby girl? And where are you at now in terms of emotionally, like the whole scope of from beginning of quarantine to now? What are some of the things that you've experienced?
For me, I work from home. Being a filmmaker, I do a lot of freelance editing. So I'm used to being home. This has not been that big of a change for me. What has been a change is having my daughter here or having my daughter here more since she's not at preschool. And that has been, there's moments where that has been hectic, but also, with everything going on, the way for me to get the stress out of my body and out of my mind has been to just hang out with her. We put a swing out front and we're on there every day, and that's been wonderful. I mean, I get on the swing with her, and I've been introducing her to new music, and that's been really great, man. Like, I feel like she and I are developing this other relationship that perhaps may not have happened or would have happened later had it not been for the quarantine. In terms of, having my family here on and off, that's been difficult. In some ways, it's been good because I've been able to get some work done that I've been needing to do. But at the same time, when they're not here and I need that love and I need that de-stressing, they're not around for me to be able to take advantage of that and to have that privilege. But when they are here, I work a lot less because when I hang out with them, it's so fun that I just continue to do it, So that's been my experience so far. And, everything evolving from quarantine to what's happening right now with police brutality and everything that's, the way that it has just grown to this other thing. I mean, that's been very difficult for sure. And having my family around has been the thing that has kept me mentally on point, because if not, I don't know what I would be doing with myself right now.
Interesting. I want to mix it up a little bit. I know Brandon and Jeff, you haven't had a chance to answer yet. So if you have some thoughts, feel free to jump in before we move to the next question. Eric Jr. also, I know, you're not a dad, but we've had many of these conversations, and just as my family, my child, I know that there's a level of isolation that you've been dealing with, and that I've been dealing with as well, because my children, who I have 5, by the way, 3 biological, 2 bonus, they are not home with me. And they haven't been with me. My daughter, my actual youngest daughter, actually has asthma. And so that was one of the biggest concerns for me when I found out that we were dealing with this, respiratory illness that was taking people out of here. I had to make a decision as a father whether or not I wanted to continue the back and forth between her mom's house and here, and the amount of time. And a lot of the activities that we've done together have been outside. And so our entire relationship has turned upside down. But I've also managed to come up with some more creative options. And so I started ordering things in the mail and just surprising them with books and gifts and things that just delivered to their house. So they really loved the fact that, every week they were getting a new package or a new thing. And then we were doing FaceTime. And so I would send them a book in the mail, and then we would read the book at night, over FaceTime, as a way to kind of like stay connected and stay bonded. And so any other thoughts, Brandon? What has it been like for you?
It's been difficult, working often and not always being at home as much as I need to. It's been difficult in the sense of, now that I'm home, it's my wife, myself, our 3 children, just encouraging them to really respect one another in their space, but also really just thinking of, all the potential ills of like going out. My wife really don't want to take the children out too much, but encouraging and talking to her about, hey, we got to move. And so just encouraging her to allow us to go out at least once a day. And so we've gone out more now. When it first hit, she was like, wow, no one knows, like you just said, the potential ramifications of this respiratory illness and what it can do. And my son has asthma as well, my oldest son. So really just being cautious. So I guess one word to sum it up would be, an emotion might be anxiety around, like, who knows what's next.
Yeah. Eric
Okay.
Jr., you have any thoughts to add?
I was just going to say that some of my experiences with it don't sound as anxiety inducing, I'll say, because I live alone and I do have military background. So I have spent a lot of time in isolation or just in my room. And so this, kind of like Les said, it wasn't a really big change for me. The biggest change was the difficulties with, certain stores and businesses not being open. And so I kind of just needed to figure out what to do with myself, over time. So I actually did want to ask that question, just kind of bounce some ideas off you guys, see what you've been dealing with and how you've kind of been productive during this time where you're stuck in the house, especially for people who, are used to going outside almost every day or going to work or, going somewhere. Like, what has it been like in that aspect?
I can kind of add to that. I'm retired. What I do is because it's basically who I am. I go out, I deal with fathers. I mean, I go from corners to corners, but when the recreation centers and stuff were open and church and all kinds of stuff. And that's the kind of fathers I deal with. We just right out on the street. So right now it's difficult for me because I can't move around like that as much. I still find little ways and means to do things. And I'm finding out right now that it's more kind of like some days more for me than it is for the fathers. But I just try to have something to offer, some kind of way to keep the encouragement going. But my household basically, my 3 younger children are all back home. My daughter, she was in Westchester. She didn't have any graduation. She's going through some stuff with them. She's trying to get her degree. And I realized that she hasn't been here for about 4 years. So now I'm catching her up. See, she's getting to school. thing going on, you know what I'm saying? But what's going on out here in the world, she was kind of sheltered from. So that's one situation. I have my youngest son, who just got a kidney about a year or so ago, because he went through 7 years. He's on a high level of autism. He's growing into a man, and we're walking close together like we did through the whole thing with the kidneys and the dialysis and all that kind of stuff, and trying to give him as much as I possibly can to deal with what's going on out here in this world. He's not registering like I am registering it. You know what I'm saying? And then have to, from what I've learned from raising him and growing with him, how to communicate with him. Because some days he's really in a position to where he just want to I'm just out of here. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot coming up ahead of him at one time. You know, I have another son, you know, what people say bonus sons. And I say, yeah, I call them all my kids because of the fact that I got a bonus son in prison that's dealing with the COVID-19 situation and also with this racism thing. I got another daughter, a born rising son. You know, that's a bonus. You know what I'm saying? So as on the emotional standpoint and the mental standpoint of this, if I haven't been grounded because of a lot of days because of you guys, because I felt like at one time I was the only person trying to do this with the fathers and try to encourage, but as I know I have other people like you guys that I can come to or go to. That keeps me grounded. My spirituality keeps me grounded, and the fact that I understand who I am in my family as a father. Not like Joel said, not just a provider. I mean, I was listening to some of the things you were saying, Joel, and I thought it's incredible. Once you really understand who you are, it's not about the provisions. It's not about all these other things. It's about being able to sit down on the couch, you know, with a cheesesteak hoagie and laugh, and you know what I'm saying, and the eyebrow go up, and you hear something like, "What? Let me give them a chance to figure this out before they open their mouth again." You know what I'm saying? You know, all these things is what really is the advantage, and it's the blessing that's going on with this time. I heard you say to revitalize, to refresh. This is what this period is about. Yeah, the racism thing is big, and I have some fear in my heart about my children.
Okay. Yeah, and we're gonna get into that fear, that racism part too. But I want to make sure we give everybody enough time to go through these questions, because I'm interested. Like, what the question that Eric was asking was, in what ways are you using this time productively, right? And because there's a lot of stuff going on in the world that can preoccupy our minds with
a lot of
negativity
stuff that can kind of get people stuck in the negative mind state, get people stuck, you know, upset about the outside world and everything that's going on. But in my mind, since I don't have any kids or a lot of responsibilities other than keeping my bills paid, to me, it's kind of like, okay, now I have all of this time off of work. What can I be doing now that will help me in the future?
Who wants to jump in there?
Yeah, number one, I had to let my kids know that love is absolutely free, but fear makes you more money. Which means everything they come across, the commercials, the media, we love to push fear because fear can make you more money than love. So understand that a lot of people want to push fear, hatred towards you, because fear makes you buy a $1,000 weapon, where love makes you buy $10 flowers. It's sometimes some of it is possible. So on the other hand, you have to remember that so much change is happening that you now have time to be a part of like real change. We talk about voting, but voting is 3 times a year. So, for example, in our house, since the kids already have smartphones, I told them to find 10 Black-owned companies that sell 10 things that we usually use in the house. So find a Black-owned company online, Google it as an assignment, and find who does toilet paper, who does paper towels, who does hand soap. And when we find those Black-owned companies, we want to look at the hand soap, and we want to start ordering from them. We want to start ordering from them all year. You have to start thinking about, how can I get out of this space and do something with this time? Everybody's got this business plan. I found so much time to revamp the business plan. I found so much time to start planning for our event for 2021. in 2021 is going to be incredible. So I found that I was able to pause for a minute and then sometimes find inner peace. I mean, I'm an extrovert, so that's so I've been at the park at least 3 days a week. Church. You know, I'm out there in nature being safe. So that's peaceful for me to be able to know my inner self and then get back to work.
Okay. Yeah, I've actually wound up to answer the question, and feel free, gentlemen, feel free to jump in. I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to answer. I bought a guitar, started practicing guitar. You know, I signed up for a couple of certificate courses online. I've got a couple classes that I need to finish towards my degree that I kind of like let slide a little bit. I am officially re-registered for them. So just the reality is that the world is turning on its head, and we have to figure out a way to make use of this. And because the one of those commodities that you can't get enough of, you can never get back, is time. And so there's a lot of people that's talk about how much time they got on their hands, but pre-COVID-19, people were saying they didn't have enough. They didn't have enough time. And so now you got all the time in the world, despite this, besides what you got the amount of time that you're going to sleep. And I know people trying to fill their day with sleeping, right? So between sleeping and eating, you still got 24 hours. What are you going to do with it? And so I've really been doing some soul searching as well, like really trying to make a point of digging down and finding my purpose and reevaluate. And I think that's one of the reasons why we see the whole world changing right now, is because people had to take a time off. You had to get off the hamster wheel and reassess. And so when everybody did that, but we still seeing the horrors that are happening in the world, it makes people pay attention anymore because you're not caught up in the rat race anymore. Who wants to jump in on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what made the perfect storm for change. The fact that
Yeah, I did.
out of that,
They laughing in the chats. That's why I'm gonna put them out there.
Okay. But yeah, I think everybody was caught up in that hamster wheel and having the opportunity to sit down and reflect. Use the word purpose. So I've been taking this from a physical standpoint as well as a spiritual. So physically, I've been able to get stuff done around the house. I like what Joel said about sit down to dinner, because we actually been cooking more, as opposed to running and grabbing something quick and everybody eating their own little individual thing because we keeping different hours. So, it made me kind of realize how crazy that kind of lifestyle really was. So we're eating more, and we actually probably eating healthier, because it's cooking more vegetables. So that was on the physical side. Getting things done around the house. There's been a couple of projects that's been kind of lingering. I've been kind of taking my time getting to, but over the last couple of months, we renovated the bathroom, we worked on the kitchen, about to put the floor in, like all these things that I, always said I didn't have time to do before, like a chunk of time, I found myself being able to do. Mm-hmm. But on the spiritual level, as well as like spending time with kids, you mentioned the movies, we watched Scoob yesterday, probably for the third time. But on the spiritual level, I find myself at this emotional point where I had to like really ask about what my purpose was. I had to kind of, just humble myself before God and, look at like all the things I've been through in my life from birth to now and really understand that I'm in this place at this time for a reason. And what is the reason? And there's a lot of chaos and anxiety and philosophies out there, but the last couple of weeks I've been, to use your word, soul searching, really trying to figure out what is my purpose in the middle of this chaos. What am I here? What's my role? What's my contribution? It ain't just about a protest or another death or whatever. It's like what am I here to do? How am I to serve in the middle of this? So I just had to take a step back, take a couple of deep breaths. And right now I'm just listening. I'm not even like setting no course or no agenda. I'm listening and allowing, God to guide me, and he's going to, guide my footsteps into what my true purpose is. Cause I've been doing some stuff, but I don't know if that was like God leading me or if that was, you know what I'm saying? So now it's like I'm really digging into trying to be in tune with what God wants from me and for me to do.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because that was my other question. So to chime along, and I'm gonna start combining the questions, right? So they won't run too long. But again, staying on this theme that Eric Jr. was saying about what are you doing to stay productive, but then also like, what is your purpose? What are you realizing your purpose? And this could be if something that, you know, you're realizing now as a result of the condition of the world, or this can be directly related to your role as a parent. And I think I want to go with Brandon. Brandon, can you answer that question? Like, using your time productively, but then also what makes you do this fatherhood thing outside of, you know, the biological requirement of the fact that you have children, you know, you work in fatherhood field.
Right. Yes.
That makes you do this thing.
Right. I feel like the commitment to youth. I had a conversation with someone today about like, what's the sort of, you know, overarching solution to all the world's problems, right? And so I kind of answered it today. It was a therapist from an organization. I said, I believe early childhood is one of the major solutions to a lot of our problems, right? If we can connect with our babies early on and connect with their parents, particularly the fathers, like even if you're not with the mom, just knowing that like, hey, your presence is more than a gift. Like, what does it mean when, you know, Brother Eric shows up to read at the school to his 3 or 4 or 5-year-old child? Like, that's priceless. And what does it mean when Brother Les comes up and he captures it, you know, with permission and consent? I believe then we're doing a couple things. One, we're showing the children like what is cool to do. It's cool to be hood. Like, oh, what you mean by that? 100% fatherhood. I'm giving my man Anwan Wesley a shout out. He's a local guy who kind of started that. He's like, I'm 100% hood, but he's 100% fatherhood. And so coming up on Father's Day, one of the things he's done every year is just hosted a barbecue for fathers throughout the city. Pittsburgh's might be a little different than Philly, but like in the different communities, there's like 92 neighborhoods. So, you know, sometimes men and brothers will be like, well, I don't go to this neighborhood, I don't go to that neighborhood. But at his cookout, probably for the past like 15 years, no issues. You know, fathers from all over the place come through. They just eat, they fellowship, bring their children and so forth. And that's the other piece. I feel like we have to spend time with our children, right?
Yeah.
Part of spending time with them should allow us to get to know them, and then allow them to get to know us, so that when things arise, right, when issues come up, like right now, there's a lot of unrest. And so when I'm having conversations with my son, I can genuinely tell him, like, hey, you know, running, conducting yourself in a certain manner when it comes to the police could result in these things. He knows I'm being genuine. He knows I'm not being disingenuous in really just sharing. And the idea for me is really, if we could pay on the front end, we don't have to pay on the back end, right? Meaning, like, if we put that time in with our children early on, like I talked about, early childhood being a huge solution to the world's problem. And again, engaging parents so that, one, parents know their rights. And that's just rights around parenting, but also rights around academics. We begin to think, like, who spends the most time with our babies? The teachers. I mean, they spend more waking hours, you know, during the week, probably during the lifetime with our children than we do, you know, early during their formative. And so I believe it's important for men to be allowed to contribute whatever they have to offer. And so, in like I said, in our city, I feel like the early child education program had done that. I worked with one brother in particular, Melvin Ill, and he was a brother who advocated. I just was young and working with him. And once I kind of figured out what he was trying to do, that's when my creative spirit came up, and we did something called March Dadness. And I just share it because it puts a spin on something. You know, brothers is already like, well, I got Duke. No, and I got Clemson. I got, okay. Look, the reality is, what can we do to make this work for us so that our babies get to see their fathers play and model, you know, role model, like teamwork, and then also get the children on the court and get physically active while we're simultaneously putting vendors and so forth out in the vestibule so that families can get resources.
Dope. That's dope. March Dadness. Man, you got a couple of them. 100% Hood and March Dadness. All right, we're going to have to.
That's going to be a t-shirt. We're going to put that t-shirt out.
We who? Wait, me and you?
whoever we. I'm just saying we need that.
Yeah, we need that. Brandon, make that happen. We need those T-shirts. And Philly is definitely here to support you. And I want to give a shout out. To Bilal Qayyum and the Father's Day Rally Committee, because when you said cookout and you didn't know whether or not Philly did anything like that, everybody on this panel can really acknowledge that. Go back to Bilal, probably 20 years, 30 years ago.
Yeah,
long time.
30 years ago. I know that they have an anniversary this year, and I think it's the 31st anniversary. So shout out to Bilal Qayyum and the Father's Day Rally Committee, and the cookout that they did up at Belmont Plateau for many, many years.
Yeah.
Just wanted to acknowledge that.
And by the way, not to cut you off, but in lieu of the cookout this year, because of Corona and other things, they're actually doing a Father's Day card caravan.
Yeah.
Yes, that's going to be on Sunday, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Excellent.
Where's it going to be?
Starting at Pan at 17th.
Information, Jeff. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Reuben. You said 17th and Lehigh at Pan?
Yeah, starting at Pan's office at 17th and Lehigh, and they're going to move around different hot spots around the city.
Okay.
Hopefully, brothers can join. Like, it'll be, beautiful.
Yes, we'll share the information in the comments section once we finish the video, because there's a lot of phenomenal stuff that's happening around the city. I want to go ahead.
I'll add one other thing, right?
I know you got to go. That's why I'm gonna let you go, Brian.
One other thing, I got married in Philly, but also I learned about this Nigerian hoagie, and so even during this COVID, I took some time with my son. Research. And so we start preparing our own Nigerian hoagie. So again, it's all about the quality time,
Yeah.
Put it in the comments.
Your wife is from Philly, Brandon?
Yeah, I got married at 52nd and Race.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you married a great woman then.
Put that Nigerian hoagie in the.
Yeah. Everybody want to know about this Nigerian hoagie now. Joel,
that thing is nice.
Yeah.
Joel, you seem to know. No, you got the hookup.
They got a hookup on Lancaster Avenue, so I'll send that out to you.
All
right.
It could be a little spicy, but
I'm trying to support black business.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, I see you supporting. Looking like DoorDash.
Look, I'm trying to support all of this too. But man, don't judge. You understand? It's been quarantined, been locked down a little bit.
Does the 19 on COVID stand for pounds?
Like the freshman 15,
That's
COVID-19. Exactly.
All right, Eric, real quick though.
Yeah.
So we've been expanding, like we're going back to what Eric Jr. said. We've been expanding, talking about this fatherhood thing. Kind of like Reuben and a lot of other people, I end up coming into, our organizations ends up coming into fatherhood too late. So my father have kids 7, 8, 9, 10 years old and up. So we decided, and we just started over the COVID, that we have 2 people, myself included, we're now certified to do postpartum doula training. So I have 2 people that are doulas, 2 men that are doulas. One is myself, and we are now helping out fathers literally 2 weeks before they have a child and 2 months after they had a child, to coach them into a new way of fatherhood. So I'm trying to, we devised, like over this COVID, to devise how can we get to the fruit. I mean, we deal with the fruit, but how can we get to the seed? How can we get to it early before the problems and so and so? So it's been wonderful. The new mothers love it. The new dads love it. Just having some conversations about what's going to happen. A lot of us came into fatherhood with the sucker punch. We didn't know what we didn't know. And being able to talk somebody through and letting them know how their fears are going to be, letting a brother know that you're going to cry and you're going to be afraid if you don't. So, everyone has done it. It's been really, really good. So looking at it from both sides to help open us up and say, let's attack the thing from all sides.
Hey, Les, I want you to get in here because I really want you to share a little bit about the Fatherman Circle, piggybacking off of what Joel just said about oftentimes fatherhood programs we're coming in too late. We're coming in after the fact that, a lot of the dads already have kids that are sometimes in double digits, if not, or close to it. Share your thoughts and experiences about the work of the Fatherman Circle and how it impacts dads. Because the Fatherman Circle, from my understanding, we have dads of all different ages, kind of across all socioeconomic backgrounds. What are some of your thoughts about the work that the Fathering Circle is doing in relation to dads and the timing?
I think one of the most important things that the Fathering Circle is doing is providing a space for fathers to talk about the things that they're doing right and the things that they're doing wrong amongst a group of other fathers. And instead of being in a group where, one of the things that we were very conscious of is this is not going to be a place where we're going to complain about, the challenges of fatherhood. This is a place where we're going to, present the challenges and look for solutions and support each other. And I really appreciate that about the Fathering Circle, because that's needed. That's needed. It's good to be able to give advice to another father based on something that you're experiencing yourself, and also to receive support from other fathers. And I actually kind of like the different ages, because that means that, somebody who's been through the toddler years can, share information with me that I am going through right at this moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's really helpful. I mean, I agree that we gotta get in this as early as possible, but we also have to realize that it's never too late. It is never too late. And so that for me, that's very valuable to have fathers of different ages with kids of different ages, for sure.
Yeah. I want to share, and I'm going to get Eric Jr. back involved in this before we bring on, we actually have another guest that we're going to bring on, Renata R. Nikki J. She's going to be coming on in a few minutes. But Eric, so I just want to let y'all know, like, I'm going to give, the granddad, Reuben Jones here, I got to give him some props, right? Because when my son was born, I'm actually talking about Eric Jr., who's going here with us. I actually made a point to look for a fatherhood program. And I'm not even sure at what age it was that I was able to come across this booklet. I came across this booklet on a community education program called PASEP. And at that time, that was, I believe, the first year that Reuben, you were offering Frontline Dads on at Anderson Hall on Temple's campus. And so this idea of seeking out this information, was vitally important for me as a father, because I had a young son, my namesake, who I wanted to make sure that I got some stuff right, because all we heard was how Black dads get it wrong, or don't even try at all, right? And so for me, I want to kind of go into this question with each of you about, what is your, and some of you have already touched on it, so we can kind of, move in and out, move around this conversation. But I really want to know, like, what is the motivation? What is the drive behind each of you, and why you do what you do when it comes to the fatherhood program specifically? I know I asked a similar question earlier, but I really want to dig down into, like, your elevator pitch, real short. What is it that makes you do what you do? And I'm going to start with Jeffrey 3. We haven't heard from Jeff in a minute.
Okay. What makes me do what I do is just looking back on my life. You know what I'm saying? I was a stepchild. So that kind of twisted me a little bit from the beginning. And so I was always searching. And what caused me to do what I do today is basically from my past experience, a lot from pain, hurt, a lot of mistakes and failures. But then to see the rewards when you start doing the right thing, you know what I'm saying? Knowing that it's not going to happen right away, but still being encouraged and to do it anyway, knowing, like you said, from experience from a few other fathers that I knew and a couple of programs that I had been in that kind of showed me the right way to do it. But after having that and seeing that myself, believing that for me, and that's just for me, that I believe all fathers, you know what I'm saying, need to see this. Because, like I said, the reputation of Black father, of just leaving the children, the stories about how it's so hard to be a father. Yeah, it's difficult. It's a difficult thing to be able to challenge a bunch of little human beings. You know what I'm saying? Basically, that's what you're doing. but you had to have some kind of example for them. And all my past experiences have given, I believe, a lot of other than my children, a lot of young men and older men a perspective that, it's not as difficult as they think it is. And when they see some of the rewards just that I received in my life and how I carry myself through it, that a lot of these guys, they want to do that.
Some of the rewards. Excellent, excellent. I want to give Brandon Phillips a shout out from Trying Together, Pittsburgh, PA. He has to leave early, but Brandon, thank you for joining us and dropping knowledge and information. And we're going to share his organization contact information in the chat once we get in a few minutes. But back to why you do what you do. It's like a eeny, meeny, miny, no right now. You know what? Let me go to Joel. Give me in 2 minutes why you do what you do.
Fatherhood is an ordainment. What I do, it is the most absolutely rewarding thing I could think of. I started a daddy-daughter dance 10 years ago. 35, 40 people came. I thought that was great. And Eric, as you know, Reuben, as you know, now we have 500 or 600. It's not so much of the daddy-daughter dance, is that it's 10 years old, and I'm actually see fathers, black males of all colors and ages come talking about now she's in college, and I remember them. I remember them. We did a fatherhood conference. It's been 12 years. I still see people with our shirts. And fatherhood to me has become a legacy outside of my house. Working with them, you get to change fathers and change their children at the same time, and sometimes change their entire family, and it could even change the block. It's just the most gratifying thing in the world.
Yeah, I'm still hanging on to my father's "A Seed of Life" T-shirt. Like I'm trying to hold on to that.
Life.
Seed of Life, Jerome.
Yeah,
that was one of the hottest ones.
Yes. People was like, "Is that?" Yes. Yeah, we carry the seed of life.
Yep. Double entendre is what the French people call it. Reuben, tell me a little bit about, real brief, 60 seconds, 2 minutes. Tell me why you do this. Why you do this fatherhood work, bro?
It's easy. I grew up in a 2-parent household. I had a father who was not only well loved by me and my siblings and my mother, but by everyone whose life he touched. And I just always, so I don't know what it's like to grow up in a single-parent home, right? Which is the vast majority of young men that we work with. But I do know what it feels like to have a loving, caring, supportive father in the household. And I just try to emulate that and honor my father by giving to others what he gave to me.
Les, I want to ask you this question, but I want to use it. I want to save it as a setup for the clip that we're going to show after we get a chance to talk to Renata. So I'm gonna come back to you with this question because I feel like the answer is in the film or it's in the work that you do. So we're gonna come back on that. So Isan is gonna come on in a few minutes with Renata R. Nikki J. But Eric, I had a question for you. And I'm not sure if how much of your business you want to share, but just in terms of like your thoughts about it as a young man, who may at some point in time want to be a father, prepare to be a father. Like, what are some questions or thoughts that you have running through your mind that we can absolutely get wrong for you as you prepare the future of being a father?
That's awesome. I think a lot of what I want to do comes from the experience that I have. Just the simple fact that I grew up with you. I'm very thankful for that. I didn't have my mother as much as I wanted to. And in all honesty, she wasn't much of a mother. So I had my grandmother in her place. So I do still feel like, in a way, I was able to grow up in a 2-parent home. But I understood at the same time, as I got older, how important that was for me and my healthy growth. Because had I not had my grandmother there, that absence of my mother definitely would have taken a different toll on my life. And so that's part of my motivation for wanting to do better, to be able to provide that two-parent home for my child, but also because one of the things that I always heard was that, there's no manual for, raising a child. There's no books to teach you how to raise kids. But the truth is, I mean, we are the examples. Our experiences teach us how to do better. They don't give us all the answers, but they teach us how to do better. And I think that's the first step that I always want to take, is just doing better. So when I do have a child, I'll put all my experiences together, teach them self-care, to be self-sustaining, to pay attention to the world around them, but to ultimately be who they are as well. There's a lot more lessons and things that I will learn that I want to teach my child, but the type of person I am, I'm gonna look at those little details, thanks to my dad, thanks to the military. I'm gonna look at those little details and try to get them as perfect as possible. It's a long shot, but it's work that I believe will be well rewarded in the end. So I don't really have a lot of questions.
No, and I appreciate what you shared. I think the other fathers on here, can share those sentiments, because I mean, I'll just share my experience and my role, and this is give us opportunity to kind of see this 2-generation model. I didn't grow up with my father, and so I think a lot of what I wanted to do, a lot of my goals and aspirations, was simply in providing the things that I feel like I missed or I didn't get, and making sure that my son had those things. And honestly, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, especially being a single dad. That adds a lot of pressure, and that's where the rough times come in. That's where the difficult times come in, and the not so happy memories and stuff. But all through it all, I and Reuben can attest to this, because I used to drag Eric Jr. down the pass up all the time. Like, it's just keeping with him on the hip everywhere. But that was out of this, again, this something that Joel said earlier. It's it's part of your purpose. Like, it's a blessing. It's a gift to be a father. And I think, first of all, I want to thank all of you that are here, because I think just in your actions alone, you show other young men who may not understand, and young women who don't understand the role, the importance of a father in a child's life, and the joy and the benefit that can come to a child from having their fathers involved. And that's one of my personal goal, is just to make sure that dads are understanding that, as we raise children, we raise ourselves sometimes, right? You don't always come complete. Like, you get it, a child comes along. Say that again.
I was saying teachers can be taught by the student if they listen.
Exactly.
And if I may add, you're going to make mistakes. I used to beat myself up because I felt like I didn't do something the right way, or I made a mistake. And it's like with children, I think Eric Jr. just said it, there's no manual, there's no book, even though there's probably books out there, but you get my point. It's like, it's a trial and error. You want to do what's best in the moment, to serve, protect, teach, and provide for your child. And sometimes it doesn't always work out, but I think that one of the keys is just like being there for your children. We talked about the whole COVID thing, and we all learning how just that. I remember one time, Joel, you was preparing for the, I don't know, I think it was the conference. You had this discussion about engagement versus involvement. And I think that, we're all learning that how much our presence means to our child. It's not just about bringing the groceries home or taking them to the ball game. Sometimes I'll be laying on the couch trying to rest and relax after a long day, and my son will crawl up on me like to watch TV with me, and I'm trying to eat, and he giggling my food. And it's like, when I get it, like, I'm tired. You're heavier than you think you are. I want to eat this food. But for him, that means a lot to, like, just lay on his dad and eat his dad's food and, watch whatever his dad's watching, just to be in that moment of us sharing, that moment. So, and I get that, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of lessons along the way. And all I'm saying is, we don't beat ourselves up if we don't always get it right.
There's this saying that 100 brownies equal a greenie. And I feel like that with fatherhood. I used to keep thinking about the greenie. I keep thinking about, well, if I got him this, then that's what fatherhood is. And Reuben's actually right. Well, if I got him this, but it was I'm telling you, so I was lucky enough to one day take my kids on a trip with me to a training, and we ended up at this hotel that had a gym and had sandboxes. It had a whole park inside the hotel, and because of the hotel, they ate for free. So they were eating waffles with, but you know, they just going in. And one day I asked them, what was one of your favorite times? And they said, going out to the park and feeding the ducks. And I was thinking, that was the day I was broke. We had some moldy bread, and I didn't have nothing else to do with you, so we just went to the park and fed. I'm thinking, what about that hotel that we had the room and the jungle gym? They were like, yeah, that was nice, but feeding the ducks that day. So these brownies, these brown pennies, these drops, this just singing Frozen is the stuff you remember versus the times you had. Like, going on a trip is a nice time, but I realize now that all of my kids are going to end up in houses where everybody eats dinner at the table, and that's it, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
You
Well,
talk about mistakes, and like when Reuben was talking about some challenging times I had, and I thought I made a lot of big mistakes, which I know I did because I was learning. And my daughter, before she went to Westchester, she wrote an essay on my life, and the Philadelphia Foundation, they gave her a $20,000 scholarship because of the essay she wrote on my messed up. Yeah, so like I said, I don't know, you gotta put the time in, you put the work in, and you do it from your heart. You know what I'm saying? I was never the parent that, because I was raised like this, we didn't hardly have anything anyway, that you had to give your kids stuff for your kids to do things. We didn't have anything. So I was already used to that part, and I was trying to get them to see that this was okay until we do better. I was a single parent for a long time, raising girls until today. My daughters will come and I'm sitting dozing off, watching something on the TV or whatever, and they kiss me on the forehead. And I'm like, where's this coming from? And they're in their 20s. Now, come on. How many daughters kiss their dad? I mean, it probably is a lot, but you don't think that today, the way things are going, that they would even show that acknowledgement. Dad, you okay? Give me a kiss. Okay, I'm going to bed, And that's the best thing in the world. I know my daughter's home. She's safe, and we're not, going through anything. And she's comfortable. So it's amazing, man. Being a father it's a privilege, it's an honor. It's a lot of work. Don't get it twisted. It's a lot of work, but it brings out the best in you. That's what it does.
Brings out the best in you.
Definitely. Eric, one more thing. I realized that I spent too much time also trying to impress other people and show other people that I was a good Black father. Because, kind of like Reuben, we've had these conversations, because other Black fathers had failed so much, I kept trying to jump up and be better. And now I realize that even those years that I spent trying to be the excellent Black father, I didn't need to do none of that. It wasn't about other people's perspective. It wasn't about what other people think. I mean, I spent the same time just like you. People come up to me and say, "Oh, your sons look great," or "They act really, really well." I'm thinking, of course they do. What? I mean, is that a compliment or is that not? Or it's good to see a father at the school. What are you saying? Like, I'm just a parent, just like you. I spent a lot of time making sure I showed up. But I was actually realized I showed up for them, and I'm teach my dads now. Don't try to show up for other people's perspective. Just be there with your daughter, and you sing Frozen. And I don't care if you got if your nails are painted or not. Other fathers with daughters, everybody's had their nails painted. Listen, everybody's had something in their hair. So you don't have to impress anybody. Just press your own kids.
Yeah, a ballie or a barrette.
Listen, a barrette.
Yeah.
I ain't saying that.
Well, listen, on that note about daughters, I want to bring back I want to bring back Isan Hines and our guest Renata Renata J, or Nikki J, because she's doing something that I think is phenomenal. And I wanted her to get a chance to share her story, her efforts, what she's doing, and then also ask the panelists a question. So Isan, are you guys there? What's going on?
Yes, I'm here right now. I'm going to bring in Renata. This is a very rich conversation. Can you all, I muted you just for a time being, but thank you all for such a rich conversation. I'm going to honor my daughter real quick because today is her birthday, and then I'm going to pass this on to Renata. My daughter just turned 12 years old actually today. Renata, are you there? Renata? I'm going to bring on, first of all, that's my little baby girl, and I do kiss her still. She just turned 12 today. So join me just in saying happy birthday to my baby girl. We have a guest on here by the name of Renata Jeffries. Renata is someone who really got tired of hearing the narrative. Well, I'll let her share her story. But she has an excellent mission that she started to honor fathers. Renata Jeffries.
Oh, wait a minute.
I can't see you.
Here we are. Hi. There we go. All right. Hey, how are you?
We're great, Renata. So I want to just give you an opportunity right now to just tell us about your organization and also about just the type of work that you've been doing to honor fathers. And just you have the floor for a couple minutes. You got it?
Well, it's not really an organization. It all falls under my business. I'm an entrepreneur. Intense Visions. What I do for fathers is, it started about 10 years ago. It started with me just giving out a Father's Day shout out to each father individually. And then it turned into me doing something like maybe I would group all the dads together that were musicians, that were sports dads and stuff like that. And I would give them a big shout out. And then my following grew on social media. So last year, it got to the point where I couldn't sit there and go through every father. And I started giving out cards. And people started seeing what I was doing, and they started donating to what it was that I was doing, which turned into, okay, we're going to do this every year because fathers need to be acknowledged. They need to be honored. And that's how that pretty much came about.
Yeah, it was wonderful work. I know Father's Day is coming up this Sunday, and I know a lot of mothers take that opportunity to shout themselves out as the real dads and stuff like that. But I'm just grateful that people like you, not even being a mother, see the value in fathers and the role that they play in our community. So how can people support what you have going on?
They can cash at me or send me a Venmo at Renata J, RenatajAY. I'm looking next year to, did we get disconnected?
No, you're here. I'm just showing you.
Okay, I'm looking next year for volunteers,
Okay.
because this had turned into something, bigger than what I can handle by myself. So I need a group of women who, believe in the fact that we need, positive male fathers in their child's lives. I never knew my dad. It wasn't his fault, but I'm a daddy's girl at heart. So I'm team dad, team fathers, bring them on, long as they're not toxic. And that's not, when I say long as they're not toxic, I'm saying to the point that they're bringing harm to the child, whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally and stuff like that. So, and that goes for mothers as well. I'm not going to one side that. I like to have everything on an even scale when it comes to even looking at, parents. So I want us to get to a point where we as people realize that we shouldn't allow the relationship we have with the male and the female to affect the relationship of that child with their parent.
Yes.
Those are two different things. There are a lot of men out here that are great fathers, but horrible husbands and boyfriends. There are a lot of women out here that are great mothers, but horrible spouses and stuff like that, and girlfriends. So just try not to mix the two, because that causes a child to grow up into chaos and dysfunction and have to deal with a lot of, you know, things that can cause them to have mental health issues, you know, because of the confusion and stuff going on between the parents. So it's like, even if you can't rock together as parents, at least be cordial for the child.
Absolutely.
Hey, Renata, I want to jump in here real quick because, you know, you and I, this is Eric, you and I had a chance to have a conversation the other day. And, you know, it started off by saying, well, you know, I don't want to know if I want to do an interview because I don't have that much to say. And then we was on the phone for like a good, hour? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
45 minutes, something, right? But the reason why I'm sharing that is not that we just talking. What I'm saying is that I want you to kind of elaborate a little bit more about that piece, because I think you just kind of blew past the fact that you didn't grow up with your father. And so a lot of people will probably be asking the question, well, what is your motivation? Like, how do you even get to this point of wanting to honor and acknowledge fathers when you
I
yourself
didn't grow up with a father, but my grandfather, he was dang near perfect. I'm going to tell you, nothing like it. So having a 90-year-old grandfather is sitting at his feet, listening to his wisdom and him share things with me about life, just made me, you know, love the fact of having a male in my life even more. It's important. It's very important. And I think that sometimes we have to, like y'all was saying earlier, be patient, because you don't know what you're doing as a parent. And I'm saying that as an aunt and a godmom who really helped raise kids. Even though I ain't have them full time, I was there every game, every recital, every whatever. Auntie was there. So I kind of get it a little bit, you know?
Excellent. So before, you know, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but while you have all of these dads available, right? And I know I've seen you on your social media posts, running up on dads, handing out cards, you know, greeting people at the door. I think it's beautiful. Do you have any thoughts or any questions that you want to ask of the dads that are here? Anything that's pressing on your mind that you maybe either want to ask or want to know or want to share with them or tell them?
I just would probably just tell them to be encouraged, to know that if you felt like you weren't acknowledged all this time, there are people who are standing behind me who cash at me every year, so I can go out here and at least start with a card. And maybe in the years to come, it'll grow into something bigger where we can really love on the men out there. So, you know, just continue to be a great dad. And a great influence to your child, and even some of the kids out here who don't have children. Because while I did have my 90-year-old grandfather, I had an excellent village as well. I was sharing with Eric, when I grew up on my block, all I saw was fathers. And it's like, I grew up in North Philly in the hood, so it's not like I grew up somewhere in Bougieville. When I looked, I saw single fathers on my block raising 2 and 3 kids. I had a mixture of fathers who were married. I had some single mothers. So I saw all of the mix growing up. I've always seen fathers. So that's never going to be my story that men don't take care of their kids. When I look at my uncles, they took care of their kids, you know? Yeah, so.
Excellent. All right, fellas, any other comments before we let Renata go? Anything you want to share or any thoughts? I think you might, everybody might be muted.
They're unmuted.
Yeah, my only thought is that I just want to make sure that we work harder together. Having fatherhood groups is good. Having fatherhood companies are good. So, but if we don't work harder together, I can't wait to get your information and make sure I share it with other people. And of course, I want to connect with you because you'd be excellent at one of our events, 2 or 3 of our events, actually.
Now, can I just say this? One of the reasons I have been so successful at honoring fathers from 10 years, even though it started off as just a shout out, is because I don't share all over social media. My page respects the fact that I say, do not repost, because I'm not trying to be famous. I don't want a bunch of men following me, DMing me, and all that good stuff. I don't want the attention. Now, when it grows to something where I can have more people working with me, then maybe so. But right now it's really strictly from my heart, and I'm old school. So, you know, old school, you didn't do stuff for likes and shares and comments and stuff like that. I don't do that for this. This comes from a place of love and a place of hurt. Because for many years, I was hurt by the fact that I never knew who my dad was. So, yeah. And after just losing my grandfather in December this year, I just asked people not to share it, keep it on my page, and we'll see what happens next year.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, Renata, because I wanted to make sure that, and Joel, I feel you. Joel, I did the same thing. It's like, yo, we can help it. We could blow this joint up. We get you all the volunteers. But, respectfully, recognizing that, what Renata is sharing is that, this is a deeply personal and intimate interaction that happens one person at a time. And that's the reason why, so if you get a chance, go to her page, R. Nikki J. Like, again, don't share it, but just in watching her interactions. And something else I noticed that you do that I thought that it was a problem at first, but then I think I understand. Where I was kept wondering, it's like, well, how come she ain't showing these people? And, the camera would be like looking at people's feet or off on the side and all kinds of stuff. But again, it goes back to that respecting people's privacy.
We're
but
also in quarantine, and I have quarantine here. Look at this. This needs to be touched up. We're in quarantine, and everybody, they come into the door looking like quarantine. And I just don't want to get cussed out. You put me all over social media. So, and then, like I said, to respect people, I'm walking up to people. And then that's another thing. If the camera's not on them, I don't have to worry about somebody saying, here come the negative one.
Yeah.
She better not get one of is that my baby that he'll take care of his?
Yeah.
We ain't doing all that. I don't want and I really don't even want the camera on me because I hate lives, to be honest. But that's definitely one of the reasons why I do.
It's about making sure that if you are able to touch 50 dads, there's companies like mine, Reuben's, we have certain funding that we can make sure. I want you to touch 1,000. If you need volunteers, we are strongly connected volunteers. We have a mother and son dance every year, and the mothers are just waiting around to be able to connect with people like you. So I'm not trying to take you. I want to advance your work. I need your help.
Yeah. I think we're all here definitely for that. I definitely want to support you in what way we can. All right. So again, we have your Cash App, we have your Venmo. We just trying to help you do this work that we're all doing and elevating the voices of fathers. So I just wanted to say thank you and just appreciate you so much. And look forward to staying connected with you.
All right. Thank you so much. And
thank
thanks
you,
to
Renata.
everybody and all that you're doing on here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Excellent. All right. So we're going to transition to actually a few questions ago, I was asking about why we do what we do. And I asked Les to hold off at that time. We have a special little piece here that I wanted to make sure that we highlighted for Les. And as he shared, he's a filmmaker. And so we have a clip of, is it a clip or is it a preview or what would you call it?
It's the official trailer for the series.
Official fair. So let's tell us a little bit about why you do what you do as a filmmaker and some of the pieces that you've been working on with Maz, because we started off with the birth video. Like everybody at one point in time, people were doing like baby announcements and they're doing balloons and colors, and you actually did a little like mock horror film initially when Maz was born. So tell us a little bit about your work and why you do what you do in relation to your fatherhood.
Well, the very first thing I want to say is that my father is my biggest example. I feel like I'm always chasing him in terms of fatherhood because my dad, he gave and continues to give so much to me as a son, and I cannot do any less, than he's already doing. And so he's always been an inspiration for me when it comes to being a father and fatherhood. And, when I had my daughter, my life did a 180. My life completely changed. And, as an artist, you make art about what's going on around you. And the biggest thing that was happening in my life, and that actually continues to happen in my life, is having my daughter. So all my work right now is about that, is about being a father. And, and I love horror films. I love sci-fi. I love action and thrillers. And so I try and find ways to incorporate those elements into, the kind of work that I do. And, at the forefront, I want the themes of fatherhood and, of what being a dad means I want those themes to be always, underneath the work. But, one could argue that it doesn't have to be horrific. It doesn't have to be a thriller. It doesn't have to be action. Those things are already in fatherhood. You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
Like, I don't have to dramatize those things. I don't have to make them larger than life, because they already are larger than life.
Yes, yes. Nothing like carrying a child, like arms extended, trying to make it to the bathroom before,
Oh my goodness.
There's nothing more thrilling than that.
You ain't lying.
All
So,
right, so set us up for the trailer, and I want to come back and touch on, because you mentioned some subliminal stuff, but I think there's a big piece of this trailer that actually relates to something symbolic, and I want to talk about that after you get a chance to see the trailer.
Okay.
Isan, can you pull up the trailer for us?
Dreams make it more epic. Like we really.
Full screen.
Want to feel it. Action.
This gig is done, and I am on my way home. I missed y'all so much today, and I cannot wait to see my ladies. Already. It's like you're ready to die.
All right. That's so I have to say, I actually got a chance to see your film before it was re-edited.
Mm-hmm.
And that trailer was actually like creepy. Like I was expecting a little bit more camp or whatever. Tell us a little bit, but like behind the themes of the film, and like what made you, make that particular style. Yeah.
So the first thing I'll say is that about 95% of that was made in a storage unit that I rented down in North Carolina. I threw up a green screen, and I bought some miniatures, and so the whole thing is just acting in front of a green screen. The props and the sets are miniatures, and the backgrounds are stock footage. So those are kind of like the technical aspects of how the film came to be. And before I actually made the film, I was in that storage unit just experimenting. I just happened to have this little remote controlled scorpion, and I decided to do some fun scenes where, the scorpion was chasing me and trying to eat me. And that actually started all the ideas that eventually became Papi Ramirez versus Giant Scorpions. And it's funny because it wasn't until I was nearing completion that I realized my daughter is a Scorpio. You know what I'm saying?
Scorpio.
And she's a Scorpio. And so that gave it even more meaning for me. So, for me, the piece is about all the fears and everything, all the ignorance you have as a soon-to-be father. You know, like for me, as soon as I learned that I was going to be a father, I was like, I'm not ready in terms of like financially, in terms of like the job that I have, and emotionally. Like, so basically, I wasn't ready at all, emotionally, physically, financially. I had no preparation at all in my mind. And so that is the journey that I wanted to portray in this movie, which is now a series. And again, the fact that my daughter is a Scorpio made it even more personal to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I know when we talked before, because I actually was blessed when you first mentioned the idea that you were thinking about making something like this. You know, you had done a previous short film, and we had talked about the symbolism of a Scorpio. And like in certain cultures, the scorpion, but more specifically, a previous film you did a spider. And the spider was symbolic of like feminine energy in a lot of other cultures around the world. And how that this feminine energy was kind of like creeping up on you, and it was tell us a little bit about that project and like how it evolved into this one. Just the
Well, for me, one of the things that I'm learning is that everything that I feel is a threat to my daughter is actually more in here than it is in the outside world. And so so with the short film, that one was called Web, and it was essentially like this giant spider is threatening my baby daughter. You know, we're just like alone at the house, and it's you know, for me, I think it's trying to you know, attack my daughter, but really it's a story about the misogyny and the sexism that lies within the father, and that he's actually the threat to the daughter, not the spider. And so the spider is a manifestation of the feminine energy that he needs to accept and feel comfortable with. And so I like doing things like that. I like, because ultimately, I believe that, and we talked about this earlier where Joe was saying like fear will get people to buy a $1,000 rifle. Love will just get you, you know, a bouquet of flowers. And that is so very true. We live so in here, you know, and we make all these decisions like based on the things inside of our heads versus like actually experiencing life and actually allowing different things to affect us that are coming at us. And we tend to immediately just push things away or not let them enter. And so that, you know, for me, that's the kind of work that I do, where it's like these things that are outside of myself, these things that are threatening, are actually things that are trying to get in so that they can make me a better man and a better father.
Wow. That's deep. That's profound. Tell people how we can how can we view this series?
So the website should go live tomorrow, and it's Papi Ramirez versus Giant Scorpions, and that's Papi. I think a lot of us know what how to spell Papi, and then Ramirez is RAMIREZ versus Giant Scorpions.
Got you. All right. And do you have a YouTube channel or a Vimeo channel or someplace? How can we see some more of your work?
I do. I have a YouTube channel on called Les El Latino Cine Ninja, and that's Latino. It's basically Latino with a B in the front, and then Cine Ninja, you know, like CINE Ninja. And that channel I dedicated pretty much to promoting the film, and also to providing behind the scenes inside of the storage unit with the miniatures, and you know, just it gives you a lot of information about how the film was created. I really should do some videos about what we're talking about right now. I haven't even considered doing videos about the themes of the movie and things like that, which I feel like would be of interest as well.
Excellent. So, so I want to be able to chance to go around one more time before we wrap up and just make sure that everybody, I saw Jeff's son pop his head into the screen a few minutes ago. Yeah. That's what's up. I want to give everybody an opportunity to go through share your organization contact information, anything that you might have going on or coming up soon. I know we've got Juneteenth coming up this Friday. There's going to be a huge Black Brotherly Love March on 52nd Street on Friday, June 19th from 12 to 2, starting at 52nd and Girard, that I'm helping to coordinate. Eric, before we go to the other panelists, do you have any other questions, any other thoughts in terms of what we talked about today?
As far as questions and thoughts, I don't, not as far as anything in the past, but I remember looking at the questions sent for us through the panel, and one of the questions that popped out to me was advice for after the quarantine was lifted. We definitely didn't talk anything about post-quarantine. But just as far as safety goes, I definitely would urge people to remain cautious, continue to, wash your hands, sanitize, use your masks and things like that, because I feel like with it not being completely gone and them starting to open things back up, the amount of rush that people are going to try to rush back into society could easily shoot those numbers right back up and cause us to almost start over in my mind. So I definitely would urge people to, remain vigilant.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. While you sit with the sunset going down over your shoulder, looking like an old Clint Eastwood Western, little romantic film going on back there.
Well, we still waiting for the dust to settle, so, time will come.
I hear you. All right, fellas. Jeff, anything going on with you, Jeff? What's on the horizon for Fathers in Action?
Well, basically, like I said, I've been minimized because I was going to do my annual thing up at 12th and Susquehanna. But what I'm doing right now is the collective list I have of fathers that I work with. I'm trying to just basically, like the young lady, give them cards and a little support or whatever like that, different types of gift cards and things that they can do that kind of like relate with fathers, what I'm saying? So they know it's a personal thing and not just, just giving out some stuff to be giving out stuff. Because that's what I usually do at my event anyway. I try to do personal stuff for fathers. And I try to do a certain amount, whatever I can. Whatever little donations come in, I go ahead and spread it around. Well, that's all I'm going to do basically.
Okay.
Sunday, I'll be, because I already had the names of the list and I have a few things already.
Okay.
So,
all right. So I just want to put the offer out there, similar to the Joel's offer earlier to Renata, is that, share tell people how we can get in contact with you. What's your phone number, your email address, website, and how we can donate to your cause.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. I will.
Tell us now while you can.
My email is jthreat, the number 1 at yahoo.com. That's the same email I use for Fathers in Action. The website is www.fathersinAction.org. And basically, my telephone number is 267-819-6447. Call me, leave a message if you don't get me, and we can go from there.
All right. We're going to try to type that in the chat for all of us, and then we'll be able to share it later on with everybody else.
Okay.
Joel Austin.
Hey, brother.
I was trying to think of something smart, but you know how we do.
Leave him alone. He didn't do that.
I'm going to leave you alone. I'm just going to let you go ahead and get the people your contact information, brother. How can we reach you?
Joel, also, you can contact us at www.daddyuniv.com. You can give us a phone call at 610-579-DADS. We currently run a virtual parent academy, parenting education class. We continue that every first and third Saturday. We have a virtual fathers club as well. And all our events are still being planned for 2021. So keep on the website and we'll keep updating you.
Excellent. Put that in the chat for me if you can, along with some more fat people jokes and spider jokes. And we will share it.
Those are private, man. That's private.
Folks are watching this. They don't realize all the giggling and the chuckling and stuff that's going on because of the chat. But I won't tell nobody if you won't.
What is your waist trainer size, by the way?
Hey, I gave up on that, Jones. They keep popping. Reuben Jones, tell us how can we get in touch with you, and what you got coming up for Frontline Dads? What is some of the work on the horizon, and how can people reach out and support?
Yeah, the website is www.frontlinedads.org. Email frontlinedads@aol.com, or you can just give me a call directly at 267-414-4764. We are doing mutual aid support, so we do food distribution every Saturday. We give out groceries and other supplies, personal toiletries, personal protection equipment, things of that nature. We also, due to COVID relief, we started an emergency housing program for people being released from incarceration.
That's awesome.
So we've been putting folks up. We're about to open a second location up in a couple of weeks, July 1st. And we, have our ongoing support for fathers, mentoring, and social advocacy. We're always looking for volunteers. We'll be doing a volunteer training in first week of July. So a bunch of other stuff. So hit us up, email us, jump on the website, give us a call, and we can always use extra hands to get involved.
Excellent. I appreciate that. And you can also reach the Fathering Circle, our organization. Feel free to reach out to us either through Facebook or Instagram. That's the Fathering Circle. And I don't know. And Les, did we get a chance to get your contact information and for people to follow? Which I know you shared your YouTube and your Vimeo, and the website for your film. Yes, we did. So I want to go backwards. I want to make sure that my son is going down in the sunset. All I see is this bright glow in the background.
Yeah.
You might want to lean up, move a little. Okay, we can't see nothing. It's just this disembodied.
Get in front of that. There you go. Get in front of that light.
Yeah.
I'm here.
All right. So I know you're actually because of COVID, you're out of work right now. But I just wanted to find out if there's any last thoughts, any other things on your mind in terms of what you want to do. I know you wanted to tell people to stay safe in relation to COVID. What are your thoughts about today's conversation?
Honestly, I didn't know what to expect. I thought truthfully, after receiving the emails, I thought this was going to be more like a Q&A / open discussion, which it did turn out to be, but we didn't go specifically question by question as I thought we probably would have. And so I did just spend a lot more time listening to everyone. And my question, I guess the only question that I really had was how is all of this helpful information really getting out besides word of mouth? Like especially to young men like me who are not yet fathers, like to the people who it, I don't want to say who it matters to, because it matters to fathers definitely, but someone else earlier in the conversation mentioned getting to them while they're young, like getting to them as early as possible. And so how is that happening?
Anybody want to take that?
I have a suggestion. I that's a great question. There used to be this kind of collective of fatherhood programs that Brothers With Me, and it was a lot of different people that ran different types of fatherhood program. And I think that maybe it might be time to revise that, like bringing all those brothers together in a way that we can share information, but also disseminate information like publicly. We know that social media is one tool, but that's just one tool. So how do we kind of get on the ground with, like for instance, Saturday and Sunday, there's going to be I don't know if you guys know, but there's a mural at 41st and Haverford. Some regular brothers from the neighborhood, they did to honor fathers. It's about maybe 10 or 15 of those photos. They're going to be projecting them down at the Barns on Saturday night and Sunday night, 8 to 11. And it's going to be a beautiful depiction of Black fatherhood, a couple speaking, that kind of thing. But if you, and I think it's sponsored through the PEC, but those are kind of things along with the rally, along with, what the brothers doing out Pittsburgh, and, these are kind of things that we need to be kind of putting into like a repository and out to the public in some way. So I think if we could bring those programs back together, back then they was meeting monthly, even if we did it bi-monthly, everybody zoomed out. But, my suggestion is resurrect that, what was it called, Joe? The
Fatherhood Coalition.
The Fatherhood Coalition. I think we need to resurrect that.
Well, Reuben, I thank you for bringing that up because I'm actually working on that very thing. My role at Focus on Fathers last year and previous 2 years put me in contact with Dr. Rita from Council for Relationships. And Dr. Rita was a central figure in terms of like doing the research and gathering data when that Fatherhood Network first gathered together. And so I have been listening to Dr. Rita say the same thing that you have said for the past 2.5 years about how we need it. In addition to that, I've been working with Rufus Lynch on the state level. Dr. Rufus Lynch has been putting together a coalition to really press for more fatherhood advocacy on the state level in terms of funding and awareness of programs. And that's how these gentlemen from Western Pennsylvania, from Harrisburg, Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, and I have been able to connect. And they've actually joined us on this show as well as last week's show. And we've put together something called the Pennsylvania Fathers and Families Service Providers Network. Yeah. And it is an organization of service providers that are spread out all over the state. To your point specifically, and to Eric's question, I'm working on that, reinvigorating that fatherhood network here in the city. So this is another reason why we're having these conversations, why we've done this series, and it's a natural progression to getting into that. Prior to COVID-19, Joel knows this, we had actually had a chance, and Jeff, I think, was at two of our meetings. We actually got a chance to sit down with Gil Coleman from the city, who was a guest last week. We sat down with Larry Woody from Focus on Fathers, Lamar Brennan from Elect. And so we've already been laying the groundwork for that. And it was really only because of COVID-19 that you haven't heard more about it, because we were just getting ready to plan the upcoming press conference to start addressing these issues and push the city to really start to advocate more on behalf of fathers and fatherhood programming and put some funding behind that. So I hope that inspires you a little bit, and you're eager to kind of join back in, and let's link up arms and make sure that we do that. To answer Eric's question, I want to say that I think that's a brilliant question. I think this is the reason why we need you here, right? Because this can be an echo chamber if we're just talking amongst ourselves. But the purpose of putting it out on Zoom is the same reason why Isan reached out to me back in April. Isan has been doing the work with MBKCares for a very long time. And he and I got a chance to connect last year around violence, bullying, and suicide prevention. And so what we were doing is we were doing it at a local library, and we were advertising it to schools. So when you talk about how young people find out, that's the way we were doing it, like literally boots on the ground flyers. And then when April came around, and it was potentially, it was devastating to Isan that not being able to actually do our face-to-face meetings, that's what the origin of this that you're part of right now. And so I would say to you that it's imperative that we have more young brothers like yourselves as part of this conversation. We figure out a way to extend the invitation, share it on your page, share it to other people. And let's figure out how we can have a conversation with young men, right? And this goes out to the panelists here. What do you guys think about inviting some pre-dads, guys who may not be fathers yet, into this conversation and extending that conversation to them?
I think it'd be a great idea.
I think it's a wonderful idea. I also wanted to say that we're not hard to find. Like, we really, really are not hard to find. There's not millions of us you don't have to search through. If you were actually looking for this information, you could easily find Frontline Dads and Dan University. Very easy. We're on all the grams and all the sites. But I think we're going to have to make sure as fatherhoods that we include ourselves and push ourselves into other conversations. So my brother's keepers has to include fatherhood. We cannot keep having a Black Lives Matter without talking about fatherhood. And just like my friends on here, I get sick and tired and sick of you coming to me with gun violence, but you not coming to me when I was at a rally talking about I need more time with my son. So you deny me my certain rights, but then when Wendy's is on fire, then I guess it's my fault. So we have to be included in every single factor.
Every aspect. Thank you. Jeff, what are your thoughts on that?
Basically, what all the gentlemen were saying. I thought of setting up something for young men who didn't have fathers in their lives that were potentially ready to become young fathers. And that was kind of scary to me because, like I said, they just totally, they're just totally out of whack on what they're about to get involved in. And I think basically like in the high schools and stuff like that, we have to come in and talk to them about prevention of having children, too soon, because they're not ready for the responsibilities or the relationships, So, this is what we were going to embark on doing, all this stuff we were thinking about doing, and we're still going to pursue it. It's at least getting it out. If it had to be flyers or we can do some stuff on social media, it'd be great. I was also sitting here thinking about Les with the skills that he has and the talent that he has, because a lot of these young guys, this is what they're doing. They're going to social media for a lot of answers for a lot of things. And if that can be focused on also is that, not just the fears of becoming a new father, but also preparing yourself and keeping yourself. It actually not becoming a father if you're not ready, and the necessary tools and the knowledge on how to do that, how to, maintain yourself until you're prepared or until you're in a situation to where you can actually, begin to function as a new father.
Hey, Eric, let me jump in here and ask you the question. He just said something, and I think, and we all know this as dads and as grown men and older men, right? We got assumptions. He said that a lot of the young guys go to social media for their answers. Is that true?
Yes, I would definitely say that's true, especially if it's a situation where you don't feel like you have somebody in your life that you can go and ask this question and they know the answer. Because if they don't know the answer, where you go? You look it up, you Google it, or you YouTube it. It depends on what specific information you're looking for. But this was something that kind of like sparked me as soon as Joel started talking. He said, we're not hard to find. But are most young men looking to find this information? Or are they just living their life, just doing what they do, and then they have a kid and they was like, oh shit, I don't know what to do. I don't feel like just being available is enough,
Right.
especially when it comes to the younger generation. Just there don't mean everybody's looking for it. So I guess the question then becomes, how do you put yourself in their path besides just, word of mouth? That's really where it starts, is just talking to people that talking to the young men that But I heard you say something about high schools. I think that's a very good idea. But have y'all thought about colleges? Because there are people in college who may have kids, and there are people in college who don't have kids. People who are actively trying to spend money to make their lives better could also use free information like this to make it better. You might have some people that are going to college while having a kid because they want it to be better, So there are definitely more things out there. It's just a matter of finding them and putting, ourselves out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're going to recruit you to do that. We need your help to do that because again, once you get to a certain point, as has already been said, we think we know one way, and the way we know is the way we've been doing it. But there's a new way to do it, and there's a new way to do things.
Yes, it
and
is.
I will say, yes, there are organizations, that are connected to college students. There are organizations. One of our guests last week was Lamar Brennan from the ELECT program. And the ELECT program is specifically inside Philadelphia schools. He even said that they actually have some junior high school parents as well. So, so their parents actually go, start somewhere between 15, 16 years old. So the reality is that it is out there. And you're right. A lot of people aren't looking forward. It's not a parachute. Like, unfortunately, fatherhood is not a parachute. It's not a thing that people are looking for before they jump out the plane. Like we oftentimes we are already out the plane before we start scrambling to try to figure out how we're going to navigate this. And so I just appreciate that. I also want to just wrap up with Les, because I think Les, this is something, to Eric's point, this is in a way what the Fathering Circle is really doing when we talk about socialization. And one of our first questions in the Fathering Circle is about our own boyhoods. You want to speak to that? Like, what is that? How is that thought or that process, do you feel like, gotten dads to think differently about when is it time to start talking about parenting?
From the way I understand it, we are products of our childhood. And, like I was saying earlier, my dad, and this is not, doesn't go across the whole board, but for me, the example of my dad is what cost me, or, makes me, be the father that I am. So, and that happened from boyhood, just watching him. That was just like, just being there, just the experience. I don't have a very clear answer. I'm actually still thinking about what Eric just said, about reaching young kids before they become fathers, because that is a very interesting question to raise, and one that we probably should give some good amount of thought to. And I don't know if we'll come up with a brilliant answer, but it's definitely something to see if we can like start kind of like chipping away at.
Yeah. Well, listen, on that note, we are going to wrap up, fellas, because we have been here way longer than was originally planned. But that's because, Joel Austin likes to talk. No. No, we love, it's all love, man. It's all love. And the fact of the matter is that we can't talk enough about this.
Nope.
Right? We can't have enough conversations about this. We cannot encourage enough people on the importance of fathers and why we need the solidarity that we need. So I just want to thank you all. I'm gonna bring my brother Isan in to do our wrap up, but I just want to thank each and every single one of you for being here and sharing this and continuing to build with me. This is I'm speechless just because of the fact that when we talked about purpose. I think Joel had a bumper sticker slogan that he put in the chat earlier about finding a gift, a purpose, and whatever the third one was. So all of you here actually represent all of those three things for me. Having my son here is definitely my legacy. Reuben's the first parenting program I ever signed up for, and definitely a mentor, and somebody took me under his wing. And then Joel, you've been like a brother to me. I'm proud of the role that I was able to play with
like
Daddy
a
University.
Step-brother, kind
of. Well, more like adopted.
More like a
found on the side of the road kind of brother. Right? And then with Isan, Les, Jeff, I appreciate you all. Isan, you want to wrap us up, brother?
Appreciate.
I want to thank all of y'all.
Can I say something real quick? Just one thing.
Go ahead.
Just one thing real quick.
Spit it out real quick.
I think what we need to do is make talking about fatherhood cool.
Yes.
I don't know exactly how to do that, but that could be a step.
Yes.
Be able to kick it about fatherhood in a way that's like, oh yeah, that's dope. That's cool. Because when you think about it, it really is.
Les, the film that you made for the Fathering Circle, that 12-minute film that you made is one of the coolest things that I've seen in relation to fatherhood. So I want to say we've actually already started it. We've already started it along the way. So thank you for that.
All right.
Yeah, so I want to thank y'all all for being on here tonight, and thank y'all for what you contribute as fathers and also as a son for you, Eric Jr. Like, we appreciate you. Happy Father's Day in advance. And to the audience, any fathers out there, we appreciate you. Happy Father's Day to you and to your families. Eric Jr., I just want to say I appreciate you for asking the tough questions, because that's what the dialogue is for, so that we know what's needed. When we go into hospitals, we got to say our symptoms or whatever's going on, but we also the doctor needs to know what's going on so that they can help us. So in a lot of ways we're helping, but we need you to help us learn how to help. And just know that we are having these conversations. We are thinking, and MBKCares, we have programs on college campuses. We have programs planned for beyond this pandemic, and all of us, we're trying to do better, man. So I appreciate you for challenging us and keeping us in check. We all need that.
No
I'm just
problem.
going
I
to share
appreciate being here.
one final thing is an organization called Color of Change is a nationwide initiative for fatherhood, and they're actually doing an event this Saturday. And they have a website, which is menofcoc.org. That's Men of Color of Change. It's a nationwide organization. They try to help Black men come together and do different initiatives across the whole country to get the groundwork done by creating a network across the country through virtual means as well. Eric and I were on something they had last week, and I just recommend that people support. They're offering something this Saturday, June the 20th at 12 noon. They're going to be doing something called Reflections of Fatherhood. Eric, do you have information for the Juneteenth event this Friday?
Yeah, the Juneteenth event is going to be happening on 52nd Street. It's going to, we're going to gather at 11:30 in the morning. There's march is going to start at 52nd and Girard and march south down 52nd Street. It's a silent march because we believe that the Black man's presence is the loudest voice that we could possibly have. And so we're going to have a silent march starting at 52nd and Girard at 12 noon. We're asking that all women and non-Black men, if you want to support, feel free to support by walking alongside on the sidewalk, giving out water and fruit to the Black men that will be marching. We're also asking that our women, if you want to come out and support, meet us at Malcolm X Park, because the march is going to culminate at Malcolm X Park, where we will walk around the park one time. And then as we enter the park, we're going to do an outcry. And that outcry is symbolic of us as Black men releasing the things that we need to release in order for us to then come together and start working. And each person, that's individual, whatever that thing is that you feel like you need to release, that's based on whatever the trauma or hurt or whatever thing you've been carrying with you that has prevented you from standing up in your communities or standing in solidarity with other brothers. So 12 noon from 52nd and Girard, south to Malcolm X Park. We've also there's going to be a bus that's going to provide some transportation back to the start of the march once we get there, for those who can't walk back and forth. There's going to be a lot of support out there for us, but we would just, as Black men, want to show up in solidarity and show some unity. And the reason why we're doing this is not just to march, it is actually the kickoff of a series of community initiatives. We're going to be revitalizing the playground on 52nd Street near Wyalusing. We're going to be starting a community garden following that. There's going to be a lot of community initiatives that we're going to need volunteers and supporters for moving forward. But the march, the silent march, is just the beginning to use this Juneteenth opportunity as a rallying point for Black men across the city. So I hope to see you there.
Thank you for that information. This is a little plug for myself. We were talking about purpose and fatherhood. My rap name and my open mic name is Purpose, and I have an album called The Father. And that album is available on Spotify, iTunes, all types of platforms. And it's actually a story album about how I was a young father, confused about how to do this thing. But through it, I learned that God could be my father. And I learned fatherhood on the job, but I also learned by being a child of God. So I encourage y'all to go listen to it. It's called Purpose, The Father. You'll see a picture of me holding my firstborn son, Jeremiah, on there. So I appreciate everyone again for being on here tonight. Thank you, Eric, both Erics, for doing a phenomenal job. Thank all of y'all for having an honest dialogue. It was incredible to witness. And thank you, Renata, if you're still out there, for encouraging Black men or encouraging fathers, period. So thank you all. Reuben, Jeff, Les, Joel. And who else do we have on tonight? Did we miss somebody? Brandon.
Brandon.
Brandon too, man. Everybody contributed, and you all matter. We appreciate you all. And y'all are some funny dudes too. Y'all had some good jokes. Don't let them call you. They call you DoorDash, Mr. DoorDash.
It's actually Grubhub. Thank you.
Y'all have a peaceful night. And thank you to our audience. We
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
your
you.
time. Thank you all
Appreciate
for being faithful to
All right.
us. And everybody have a peaceful night and happy Father's Day weekend.
Happy
Thank
Father's
you.
Day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy Father's Day,
weekend.
brothers.
Catch you guys in the job.